Meantime, community members got to take advantage of the nice weather out on the golf course today, while also fundraising for suicide prevention and awareness. The annual Long Live MC tournament took place from noon to 4 at Elmwood Golf Course. Long Live MC is a nonprofit formed after the loss of Manny Christopher, a former DWU and Roosevelt football player. Their mission is to save lives by fostering mental well-being.
You would have never guessed that Manny was struggling with something the way he carried himself. So I think that just the fact that we overlook so many people, and men have a tendency to not talk about their feelings or things they're going through, they don't feel comfortable doing those things. I think that's why it's so important, is because we really don't know what's going on with our friends, coworkers, anything like that, and that's where the importance comes from. We need to know if someone is struggling and how we can help them.
There were more than 200 golfers that took part in today's tournament.